all geek to me!
Hello, welcome to It's All Geek to Me. Today I'm joined by my friend B. Say hello.
Hello.
And today we are discussing the now and the new release series, Avatar: Last Airbender. Not the cartoon, not like last time. We are discussing the live action that just premiered 3 days ago. First of all, B, what did you think of the series overall? Was it needed, or do you think it was not?
I think it wasn't like needed, but it was a welcome addition, I would say. I think it was good.
Yeah, it's like to introduce a new generation to Avatar.
Yeah, and it will also probably bring in some older audiences who like might not have wanted to watch the original show because it was like too childish, but this
Yeah.
new one is like more mature to get more audiences.
Oh yeah, this was totally mature. Do you want to start with the first episode and what do we want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the first episode of the show, I did not expect. All right, I'm going to talk about this one scene of talking about maturity. If you people don't like this, then you could skip this part. But I still can't get over the fact that they actually showed Fire Lord Sozin burning a guy. When I first saw it, I was like, "What the hell is going on?" Were you?
I was surprised to see it happen, but it does make sense since in real life,
Yeah.
firebending would be a lot more dangerous than it looks in the show.
Oh yeah. I'm still surprised they even showed that. By the way, like the characters that they look in live action form, Sozin looked incredible. The Fire Room looked incredible as well. But I did not expect Sozin to burn the guy. I thought he was just gonna he was just gonna throw him out. But no, he killed him. And that I did not expect. What I also didn't expect is that I like that they started 100 years during that time when Aang first left. I like how they started there before they started in the present, like in the original series with Katara and Sokka. I did like that concept there.
Yeah, it was cool to see like the killing of Aaron as like
Yeah.
expanded.
I'm surprised they even showed that because I thought they were not going to show that. In our last episode, in episode 11, yeah, episode 11, me and B talked about the show and we watched the trailer, and we did not expect that they were going to show the genocide of the air nomads. Right? We didn't expect that.
I think it might have been in the trailer,
Well, it
but
was, but
probably
like,
not as like graphic as it
yeah,
was
I didn't
in
expect that they
the.
were going to show it. I didn't expect that, but like no, this is for like maturity, and there is like some points in the show where they like they say like those words or like have the meanings of darkness in them, but we'll get into that later. But I like how it started off in the Fire Nation, and then it showed, of course, Sozin's real target was the Air Nomads, and then we cut to Aang and Gyatso, and compared to how he found out in the original series, I think in my opinion, I like the original better, where Aang actually overhears the conversation of him saying that he's going to leave, rather than this version where Gyatso just tells him in front of the Yang Chen statue. What do you think about that?
It was a little bit weird since he kind of like he got frozen in the iceberg under like different circumstances and contexts than in the original show.
Yeah,
Because in the original, it was more like he didn't want to be the Avatar, and that's why he went away.
yeah,
But in this one, it was kind of more like he just wanted to clear his mind or whatever. He said
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, they do show, like, in this version, this new version, that he doesn't want to be the Avatar. Of course, he makes reference to the banana cakes, airball, and goofing off with his friends. Stuff he did in the original series. But, yeah, I didn't well, I mean, he was going to run away from, like, the previous show. But, yeah, I didn't expect him to, like, actually, because when he talks to Gyatso about leaving, he breaks down crying, and I didn't expect that. We'll get into that later, where he actually breaks down again. That's later. But by the way, I also love the CGI they did. The CGI is incredible. It's like they took, like for Appa, it's like, and Momo, it's like they just took the show and then just got rid of the animation, like the lines and the drawings, and then just put them in live action form. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it especially the bending looked really good.
Oh yeah. The bending was incredible. It's better than the stupid live action one. Many fans were
The
concerned.
movie.
Oh yes, the live action one. The movie, my bad. The movie. The movie, of course, it's become like an inside joke in a few of the episodes on this podcast and on my other channel of how the movie is trash. And yeah, it was trash. And a lot of people were concerned when they announced this, and they didn't expect it to be live action. And I'm actually happy that they learned from their past mistakes. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan wasn't directing it, so it made sense why they learned from their past mistakes. But they learned, and the CGI looks incredible. The bending style is incredible. Even the actors are incredible. The actor who plays Zuko, I will give him credit. He's trying to sound a little like Dante Bosco. The voice actor for Zuko, he's trying to sound a little bit like Dante Bosco, you know?
I think pretty much all of them sound very similar to their like how they sound in the show, especially Sokka and Zuko.
Oh, yeah. I did not expect that I like can't get over how Sokka and Katara look in the show. It's just like so identical, down to even the clothes and the sets. They were so passionate about the show, so that just shows how dedicated Netflix was to bringing this to an audience. Hello.
You know,
Yeah. All right. So another thing I would like to say is like in the episode, I kind of like how they show Katara as like, of course, she's like the last waterbender in her tribe, but I like how she has to keep this hidden. They didn't show that in the original though, which kind of doesn't make sense because she should hide it after her mother was killed. But again, it's a different show and they have to change things up. What did you think about that?
um, yeah, I think it was kind of made sense for her to try to hide the water bending in the beginning.
Mm. I'm gonna have to talk about this a little bit. I know people. This sparked outrage among the fans, but Netflix, before the show was released, they confirmed Sokka wasn't going to be doing his sexist jokes to in the series. Which honestly, I think that he shouldn't have done that in the reboot because you would never get away with that stuff now. You know, you would not get away with that.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, people are more like sensitive to
y-
that stuff. But
yeah, people are more
in the
sensitive.
original show, it kind of made more sense because he grew as a character and like grew out of it.
Yeah, he
So it's
grew
kind
out
of
of it.
sad that we don't get the same kind of character development in this version.
Yeah, it's a shame, but it does make sense though because you couldn't get away with that stuff now. Like the original show was made in like the late 2000s, so it made sense. But now you can't do that, so they changed him up, and it's slowly getting better. But they're just gonna have to probably figure out what to do next season. But I do love in the next few scenes. I like how they break Aang free out of the ice. I also like how they show Zuko's room. And in this one, because by the way, like in the episodes, they have to combine a lot of them. They have to combine all the episodes of the first season. And to get rid of big plot holes, they had Zuko have this notebook, which wasn't in the original series, and they just like showed him writing about it and all the locations they have to go. What do you think about the notebook, like covering all the big plot details since they combined all the episodes like into like 8 big ones? What do you think about that?
I think it makes sense because Zuko would be looking for like any kind of clue that he could get his hands on to get the Avatar. So it would make sense he'd have a lot of helpful information for him.
Yeah. I also think that, in my opinion, I kind of like this new version of Zuko. I mean, in the original one, he didn't care about. Well, he did want his honor, but his honor was like in the back seat. All he cared about was coming home. But in this version, he's concerned about his banishment, but he's also wants to be like the heir to the Fire Nation, and he wants to prove to Ozai he's a worthy son. I mean, this is in the original, but really in the original, all he cared about was coming home. When you think about it, that's all he cared about.
Yeah,
And it's but in this one I like how he gets to show him like he wants to find the Avatar and then become the heir to the Fire Nation. We'll talk about Zuko's family later, but I also want to talk about
yeah.
how
There's a
this
certain character that I'm very excited to talk about.
yeah, we'll get into that later. Don't worry about it. But finishing up episode 1, I also like how they introduce like since the show's for mature and it's not I don't think it's on the kids it's not on the kids section of Netflix, it's on the adult section. I like how they even
Yeah,
Yeah, and they even have this line where they didn't expect. I didn't expect this actually listening to the show, but they said asses, and I didn't expect that first watching the episode. That he's like the line is he didn't think he'd drag our asses to somewhere cold. What did you think about that line? Was it funny? Was it unexpected?
I think it was unexpected and funny at the same time. But I
Yeah,
think it being unexpected makes it more funny.
yeah. And I this is something dark. I know we're skipping episodes, but this is something dark that I like that they combine in the series because in the original, Zuko's soldiers had no names and nothing besides Zhao. But in this one, this is the same battalion that Ozai was going to sacrifice. And when you learn that later, I was like, "Oh, this
Yeah,
ver
I really liked that change because it made us kind of like sympathize with Zuko more, and it makes him seem more like a nice guy.
yeah. I think that was totally uncalled for and it was actually a good move. I think that was a cool idea by the writers why they decided to do that. What else do I want to say? Finishing episode one. Of course, he escapes and he goes to Gyatso and Gyatso's body. He breaks down crying in this version compared to the other one, which I think in the original they could have shown that like he could have cried, but at the same time, it wasn't on Nick Jr. It wasn't on Nick Jr. It wasn't on Nick Teens. It was on regular Nickelodeon. So I don't get that, but I understand why they didn't show him breaking down crying. But in this one, they've showed him breaking down crying for Gyatso. And one thing I like different in this version is that it's not Katara who pulls him out of the Avatar state. It's Gyatso who did his memories. What did you think about that?
I think it made sense to kind of show um like the relationship between them and make it feel more impactful and important.
Yeah, it showed their relationship was more bigger because in the original, Gyatso, of course, was just his friend. He was his mentor, but he wasn't like his best friend. But in this one, you get to see how their relationship dived bigger into the series and how strong their bond really was. So I like that at the end. Episode two, oh boy, episode two. It was okay in my opinion. I think it was a good. I mean, it was copying the episodes. I do like this new. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Sokka isn't sexist to women. By the way, we're not like him. We just think that's a good idea that the writers decided to cut that. Right? We're glad that they cut that from the show.
Yeah, I guess so. It
Yeah,
makes more sense
yeah,
now around these times.
yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. But I also like how they try to fix this. They instead of that, it's him trying and him and Suki saying, "Oh, it's them being the leader." And I like this new change that they added. Suki is the daughter of the person who runs Kyoshi Island, which was not in the original, and I think that adds more to her character. What do you think about that? Her being the daughter of the runner of Kyoshi Island.
It was interesting to see the new character of her mother because we that obviously wasn't in the original show.
Yeah. Going back to Kyoshi, I also like how when they did the first, like the intro for the first episode, I liked how it was Kyoshi who narrated it instead of Katara. And when they showed Kyoshi doing the bending instead of Roku, which I thought was very new for the series. So that's awesome.
I really liked the part where she took over Aang's body and defeated all of
Yes!
the Fire Nation soldiers.
She did that in
That
the
was really
series
cool.
too, right? The original? She did that too, right?
I think she did turn into, or yeah, I think Aang turned into her in the series before too.
Yeah. And of course, Roku did the same thing too when he took over his body. But I think that's awesome that they showed that. Of course, they're off. And oh yeah, I want to say this right now. I love how they show this funny dialogue between Zuko and Iroh about him talking about being prepared, and then Iroh says, "And sticky rice." And I like how the actor of Zuko gives off these like anime expressions, and it's like, "Wait, Uncle." And I think that was very amusing by the actor. Very well done because it's not hard to make animation expressions in a real life. So I think that's really cool that he found a way to do that. What did you think about that?
It, I think that scene was very funny, and it makes sense for Iroh's character. It's very
Yeah.
in character for him to do that.
Yeah. I want to talk about Iroh's actor a little bit. in this sequence. Just to let you know, Iroh's our favorite character, or B's favorite character, actually. He's my second favorite, but Iroh's B's favorite character. Do you want to explain why, or do you think the fan base of Avatar knows already?
Yeah, I think it should be obvious why he's my favorite character.
Yeah, he's awesome. And of course, whenever somebody says, "Oh, Uncle Iroh is the worst character," people go into beast mode and they lash out in words of why he's the best. And yeah, like you don't have to explain it. He's just good. I do have kind of a little bit of problems with the actor. I think he was very well casted, but I think just it took me a few episodes to get used to him as like the old man mentor, cuz like they were kind of, I don't know if you noticed this too, but he was kind of like exaggerated a bit in like the first 2 episodes of the series.
Um, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
He's like, well, you know how like he gives like, oh, those old mentor speeches, or he just acts like Iroh in general. But I get,
Yeah,
yeah, I get it, but it's just too like it took me a few episodes to get used to this version of Iroh.
I think I think the biggest difference in this version of Iroh is that he much more serious than in the original show, and pretty much every character is more serious.
Yeah,
Um, and part of why people like Iroh is because he's smart and nice, but he's also funny.
mm-hmm,
Um, so it's very interesting to see a more serious version of him. But
yeah,
I do kind of think it's more realistic because if you were to watch Iroh in the show and him being all funny and nice to people, it wouldn't make sense for him to be a Fire Nation general who killed people. But
yeah,
this version of the show kind of like goes more into that and
yeah.
makes it more realistic to understand what Iroh thinks about this.
Yeah. I like how they also talk about, they kind of bring up his original, because if people don't know this, well, they probably do, but if people who watch Avatar at home, you may not know this, or if you do, good for you, but Iroh was supposed to be the Fire Lord, not Ozai, because Iroh was, of course, the oldest, and Ozai was the youngest. Many people, like, who haven't seen the series question like, oh, why is Iroh not the Fire Lord? Well, he was going to be the Fire Lord like after the war was well, not after the war was over, after Azulon died. But he was supposed to be the Fire Lord. But his son, Liu Ten, who was supposed to be the heir after him, the next to the throne, he dies in one of the battles for Ba Sing Se, right?
Yeah, the siege of Botham Say.
Yes, Siege Ba Sing Se, thank you. And he dies. Liu Ten dies, and then Iroh, of course, flees the scene and abandons his duties as a general. And he did go home, but he objected the throne to the Fire Nation. And Ozai saw this as an opportunity because with Liu Ten, his nephew, gone and no future heirs present after Iroh dies, he wanted Azulon to revoke Iroh's birthright so he could take the throne because his bloodline, the royal bloodline, still lived with Zuko and Azula. Oh yeah, by the way, if people wonder if Azula is named after Azulon, she is. She is named after Azulon. I don't know if you knew that. Hello?
Yeah, it's kind of obvious because it's only like a two-letter difference.
Yeah. So of course, Azulon is mad, obviously, and he decides to, oh, I'm gonna teach you a lesson by telling Ozai, you're gonna kill your son. That's his grandson, and he's just like, oh, no, 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 it's not gonna be a problem. Iroh lost his firstborn son, now you're gonna lose your own. And this dark person, Ozai, is gonna do it. That is just
Yeah,
messed up.
Ozai is
Very evil.
not a very nice person.
I
But
know.
I do actually we might get to it later, but I do like Ozai in this series, maybe even more than in the original.
Yeah. But yeah, he of
I
course.
especially like his actor.
Oh yeah, his actor. He actually was in. He was the cat. Wait, no, he wasn't the Cabbage Man. But he was in. I forget who. But he was a general in the original series for the Earth Kingdom, and then he was in the Legend of Korra. And this is his third time in the Avatar series, and now he gets to play Fire Lord Ozai. Of course, people are going to be like, oh, he's no Mark Hamill, because Mark Hamill voiced Ozai in the series. People are going to say, oh, he's no Mark Hamill. He's not the original. But he actually does a pretty awesome job as Ozai in this version. Do you want to talk about like why he's good?
So in the original show, he's kind of just like an evil bad guy, but there isn't much like depth to his character.
Yeah.
But in he's just kind of like evil for no reason.
Mm.
But in this show, it kind of shows more of like a it kind of goes more into his character. Like in the scene where he's burning Zuko's face, you can see like his facial expression kind of looks like he feels guilt or regret or sadness.
Yeah.
And Ozai obviously isn't that good of a person. So it's if I had to assume, it's probably more of him being like disappointed in his son or sad that he had to do it. But
Yeah.
it does kind of make his character feel more realistic and
Yeah, it makes him more
human.
human than in the original where Ozai showed no mercy and he said suffering will be your teacher and he scars Zuko. And yeah, I like what you said. I like how we see a little more of human to Ozai instead of him just being, as Iroh described, he had a heart made of chest and his eyes were full of brightness. Like he was like his eyes were nothing but ash, and he had a heart in his chest. That's how Iroh described him. But yeah, I like that they showed that. Episode 2, great. I actually want to talk about like just the series in general. I know if we like went over all the episodes, it would take a long time, but I want to talk about more of the series in general. But yeah, Iroh's actor, he's okay, but he's no Mako and he's no Greg Baldwin. I know if you're wondering why I said those two, Mako, the original actor who played him in seasons 1 and 2, he died, and then Greg Baldwin took over for the final season, and he did an awesome job. So yeah, that's I want to talk about also the Cabbage Merchant. I love how they bring him back. They don't change him one bit. There's a rumor out there, or if it's true, I don't know. But the guy who played the Cabbage Merchant in the original series is the same guy who played him in the live action. I don't know if you knew that.
That's pretty cool. I was very excited to see him when he came on screen first.
I know. And I like how at the end when they go down like him and Aang and Boomy go down the slide, he's like, "My cabbage." Oh my gosh, that was just so funny. Just comic relief. Speaking of Boomy, I want to talk about Boomy a little bit. All right, Boomy was good in live action form. Well, what do you have to say about Boomy?
It's kind of similar to Iroh, where it's like in the original you like him because he's like funny and goofy, but he's also like wise and is able to teach good lessons to Aang.
Yeah.
In this version, it kind of removes a lot of the funniness of him because his jokes are more just like him being crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and he's more kind of mean to Aang, which it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense because he has been gone for 100 years. So,
Yeah.
and it's kind of more realistic to see kind of like what kind of stress that Bumi would have to go through for 100 years trying to fight a war.
Yeah.
It's more realistic, but also at the same time, it removes what you like about his character.
Yeah, because there's so many good moments like in the episode in the original when he was introduced. I love this little joke he makes in the new version. He's like, "Aang, why are you like how are you alive and why are you still a child?" Because Aang's supposed to be an adult, but of course he was frozen in time. So his consciousness, it never evolved into a grown-up. It's still a kid and his body is still a child. So it makes sense for Boomy to be like, why are you still a kid, right? It would make sense for Aang to be an old man at this point.
Yeah, you'd probably be very surprised if you saw that happen in real life.
Oh yeah. That would be so weird to see in real life. One thing I liked about this Boomy, I love that he kept his snort when he laughs. I like that they kept that.
Yeah, that was kind of part of his charm in the original.
Yeah, I love how they kept that, and I like how Aang, of course, has a whistle that he blows in the series for Appa to call back to him, and I love how that piece that he had that was made by Boomy, who gave it to him, and I thought that was really cool. And
Yeah, I agree.
and now I want to talk about this is the character we want to talk about. Now I want to talk about Azula's introduction. Do you want to take the mic for this one and explain it? Do you want to take it?
So in this version, she's kind of like less. She's kind of like because in the original show,
Yeah.
you could have fooled me because she's supposed to be 14, but she looks like she's like an adult.
Yeah.
And she like seems like she's an adult, and she's very evil in the original show, but she's also very smart and like pretty much what I said. But in this version, it's more realistic to what a 14-year-old girl might feel like in
Yeah.
the situation. I
Mm.
think it's more realistic
Mm. I agree
for
with you on
how
that.
old she's supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, they're so like all right. The scene that made me I like how we get introduced to her. She's like supposed to be like one of these prisoners, but in real like she's in retrospect she's helping Ozai to get these people. And I love this. I mean, this is dark, and I'm not a fan of this, but I like the acting here. I like how Ozai when he burns them all. I like the actor of Azula. I like you can see her facial expressions of showing what a twisted 14-year-old this kid is and how she admires her father burning the people to death. And that was just good acting, but it's a dark scene. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, I kind of agree.
It's so dark. Because Azula, I mean, okay, Azula going mentally insane in the original was crazy enough for her character. But in this version, this just takes her character of craziness, her level of craziness, to a whole new level. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, kind of. I think she was much more evil in the original show, though.
Mm,
Because in the scene where she like makes a lightning and she's pointing it at Ozai and the others, like in the original show, she probably just would have killed them all. But in
mm,
this one, she decided not to let out the lightning.
yeah.
So it shows that her character is a little bit less evil in this version. It
Yeah,
seems
just like
like.
Ozai. Just like
Yeah,
Ozai.
and it would make sense if they want to do a redemption later on.
Mm, actually, yeah, that would make sense. But yeah, I love this new version of Azula. I like how they introduced Mei and Ty Lee. By the way, Mei and Ty Lee's clothes and their hairstyles, just like again, like all the other characters and the sets on the show, match exactly what they looked like in the anime. Which is, I mean, not anime, animated series. Avatar's not an anime, by the way, but it's. I like how it just matches it perfectly. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think all of like the costumes and the actors and the voices, they're all pretty much perfect how they are in the original show.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. And I also want to talk about like when they do emotional scenes and comedy scenes. The comedy scenes were funny, especially like Boomy has like the in. I want to go back to Boomy a bit. Boomy has like the lamest jokes. He kind of does. He has good jokes, but I like how in this version he has like the lamest jokes, and he has a bunch of yes men just laughing at his jokes when he talks to Aang. I thought that was funny. He has
Yeah, I like that too.
He's got a bunch of yes men. But I want to for emotional moments going back to Zuko. And Iroh. I like how in this version they actually show Liu Ten's funeral. Well, this is messed up, but I do like the acting here, and that's what I'm focusing on like these emotional moments because it shows how good the actors really are and why they were chosen perfectly for the part. I like how they show Liu Ten's funeral, and instead of Zuko actually leaving and just letting Iroh be alone, he comforts Iroh in the loss of his son because Iroh's like in the original, Zuko said he's just sad that his only kid is gone forever, and they show that very well with the actors.
It was very sad to hear the Leaves from the Vine music when they
Yeah,
did this.
it makes every Avatar fan cry. It makes every Avatar
Yep,
fan emotional, and it makes every Avatar fan cry. And I,
that's pretty much what it does to you.
yep, pretty much. And I also love how in for Zuko's banishment, I like how he's wearing the same patch he had after the Agni Kai for, of
Oh
course,
yeah, the eye patch.
yeah, the eye
That was pretty
patch.
funny.
Yeah, I like how he had the same one. Of course, that's supposed to show his wound is healing because he just got burned, and it was like Zuko's wound in the original and now, it like looks slightly healed. But if we got a new version or in the original and the new version, where we got one that was like visible, that was just looked like it was done recently, it would look so bad. Like,
Yeah, I think on one hand it makes sense that after 3 years it would heal a bit,
yeah,
but also at the same time it kind of looks a bit too small.
yeah,
Um, because like it's supposed to be like a much more serious burn.
yeah,
Obviously, Ozai is the most powerful firebender to ever exist, so it
yeah,
makes sense for it to leave a very big mark. So
yeah,
on one hand, I think the scar is a little bit too small, but it does make sense that it would heal after all the time.
yeah. At least it's better than M. Night Shyamalan's version where you barely couldn't even see the scar, right? At least it's better than
True.
that version. And I want
I
to.
mean, pretty much anything is better than
Oh,
that
yeah,
movie.
definitely. I like how when they show Ozai and Zuko fight each other, I like how instead, because of course Zuko in the original he says he will not fight him. He thought he was fighting the general, but instead he disrespected the Fire Lord. So I like how in this version he actually is okay not to fight him, but then of course in this one he's actually pressured to do it anyway, and he actually was gonna win, but instead he doesn't. Ozai of course gets the upper hand, and of course he burns him. So that was
Yeah, I did like Zuko fighting back because it shows how powerful Ozai is in comparison to Zuko, and it kind
yeah.
of like hypes you up to see the fight between Aang and Ozai when it eventually happens.
Yeah, I did like the fight. I also like Zhao in this version. I will say this right now: the guy who plays Zhao in this version's okay, but nothing could compare to the voice actor Jason Isaacs' original dialogue for the character. Do you agree? Like Jason Isaacs was the perfect choice for Zhao in the original.
Yeah, it was. He did have a good voice actor, but in the original show, I think Zhao was pretty annoying.
Yeah,
But in this version, I think he's much better and more entertaining to watch.
yeah, he's not a
And he kind
joke.
of like he fits the character, his like dialogue and writing and intentions fit the kind of character who would be like someone corrupted in power and like drunk on power because he found the avatar.
Yeah, and I also like. I know I'm going off context a bit, but I like how they show him in the Legend of Korra as well. I don't think it was. I don't know if it was Jason Isaacs who voiced him for that like small cameo appearance, but he did a good job in that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, and that was good. Oh, Zuko versus Ozai was very interesting. Plus a change, like they said. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about? Well, was there anything you wanted before I talk about the next thing? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Um it was very interesting to see how like in episode 3 and 4 how they kind of like put so many different plots from different places in the
Yes.
series together
Oh
because
my gosh, yeah. Oh
They had
yeah.
Jet, they had King Boomy, they had the secret tunnel, which was very interesting to see like so early on.
Mm. What did you think of the Freedom Fighters being introduced in live action for the first time?
Jet was pretty cool in this. I didn't like Jet in the original series, but I think he's much cooler in this.
Yeah.
And I
Better.
also like when he fights with the swords.
Yeah. I liked him and his and Zuko's fight in the original. I hope we get to see that, but it's more intense than or longer than the original, right? Do you definitely want to see a Jet and Zuko fight?
Yeah. And also I think his like motivations make more sense in this version where he's trying to just kill like the bad guys when in the original show he was like willing to destroy an entire city of people just so he could kill a few firebenders. Like
Yeah.
that didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but this version his intentions make more sense, I think.
Yeah, this one makes more sense, and I will admit the original version was pretty cool of how Aang and him fight each other and the plan fails. But yeah, this does make more sense. And I do like the others too. Pipsqueak, the Duke, all those people. They were very good as well. And I also like bringing up, of course, the Lieutenant and the Leaves from the Vine. I also thought this was a very kind of sad moment, an emotional moment. But I thought it was cool that Aang goes to the spirit world and reunites with Gyatso, and I thought that was very nice. What did you think of that?
It was also very interesting to see when Gyatso left, and I think when he disappeared, it was to teach Aang a lesson that like he has to move on from his past and like not let the past stop him from moving on from
Yeah,
stuff.
don't let it
And I
corrupt
think
them.
Gyatso leaving made a lot of sense for wanting to teach Aang the right lessons.
Yeah, I like how this is also said. I like, well, not I don't like it, but I do think it's good that they don't show this in the original. But I was surprised also that Aang decided to bury Gyatso's skeleton, and the actor of Aang is incredible in the scene where he like shows how torn Aang is, because in the original, of course, it's matured and people don't see it. Like, you don't see Aang. Like, of course, Aang feels bad, but he doesn't cry. He doesn't set up like a little funeral for the air nomads, his family. But in this version, you get to see that a little bit, and you get to see how Aang is struggling to move on from his past because he feels like he doomed everybody. And everybody, of course, says that. Like, even in the first episode, Sokka called him a coward, and all the others felt like he banished, like he just left. And yeah, he did, but he didn't. He technically didn't think this through. He didn't really think it through.
I did really like how Aang kind of had a subtle character arc to go on, where like in the beginning everyone was mad at him and he was mad at himself for letting him like let what happened in the past and he couldn't move on from it to become the Avatar.
Yeah,
But then later on, he also was able to teach him to let go of the past and the importance of moving on to um like get to better things later on,
yeah,
which is a good lesson, I think.
yeah. Very good lesson, and it teaches you about moving on from the past. But it's awesome. I like it too. I also like how, well, I didn't really like this because the main point of the series is to stop the Fire Nation, of course, the war in the original, and they're trying to stop the Fire Nation completely because of Sozin's comet. And I don't like how in this version they don't know of it yet. They don't know it yet, and it's a shame Roku didn't. I like how Roku in this series. By the way, Roku looks incredible in this version, and I like how he kind of hints to him and Sozin being best friends, but I also don't like how they didn't show the comet, you know?
Yeah, it's also kind of sad that Roku didn't get like as much importance in this series as he did in the original.
Yeah, they focus
Well,
mostly to Kiyoshi.
yeah, they because like they have the whole episode on like Kiyoshi and Suki
Yeah,
um and that stuff, but they didn't really have a lot of time to work with Roku.
yeah,
But in the original series, he was a much more important character.
yeah, and Aang didn't really call. They also show Avatar Kuruk, and he looked great in live action. But I also think, in my opinion, well, he didn't show they Avatar Kuruk and Avatar Kyoshi didn't go. They didn't show themselves for the first time talking to Aang till like till the final episode of the original. But I do like how they show them early because that shows what they're going to show, like what they're going to mean to Aang later on in the show, which I think was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I also like that like he tried to get Kuruk to like use his body to fight the Fire Nation, and
Mm,
it made sense. But then Kuruk had to tell him that he couldn't do it, and it's very interesting to see like a fully like mastered Avatar still have that kind of flaw even after dying.
yeah, because Avatar Kuruk is considered, well, in the universe and by fans, he's considered one of the worst avatars. He was remembered, of course, for being one of the worst avatars. But you said like once that he's not really a bad avatar, and can you explain like to the audience like why, in your opinion, he's not a bad avatar?
Well, the main thing is that it's only like people in the real world who consider him a bad avatar, but all of his work was in the spirit world. And if he didn't focus on the spirit world instead of like the physical world or whatever they call it,
Yeah,
then the dark spirits would have taken over. And so
yeah,
it is so Kubrick deserves to be appreciated because if he didn't do that, then the dark spirits probably would have taken over the real world.
mm. I like how also they show Ko the face stealer in this episode. I almost forgot about that until we brought up Avatar Kirk because of course his then fiance, right, his fiance, right?
Yeah.
She was taken and murdered by Ko stole her face. And I almost forgot about that till we brought up Avatar Kirk. And I also wanted to say how they introduced Ko in the series. What did you think of Ko being in the show?
I'm happy that they made him scary.
Oh yeah,
I was hoping that he'd be as scary as he was in the original, and he did live up to it.
he is scary. I forget his motif of why he decided to steal the fate of faces. Do you know why?
I think it had something to do with the mother of faces, and he had like the little totem of his
Yeah.
mom, and that's why he was able to get back his friends by making the trade with Ko later on.
Mm. But yeah, it's really cool that they showed him. I also like how in the Northern Water Tribe, I like Zuko and Zhao's fight, but I think it. I mean, I do like this version, but I also like the original. I like how Zuko and Zhao fight, but then of course the Ocean Spirit takes Zhao, and Zuko tries to reach out his hand to him, but Zhao of course decides to accept his fate anyway. But I don't. I do like in this version that Iroh's the one that actually finishes the fight, but at the same time, it kind of ruined what. I mean, Zhao, of course, like you said, he's kind of annoying and he's a coward in the original, but I like how in this version he actually stood up against Zuko and it was an even match. What did you think about their fight in the new version?
I think the fight in the end was pretty cool, but it's a bit disappointing that we didn't get the same thing because it also shows that even though Zuko hated Zhao, he also had compassion for him by reaching out his hand.
Yeah.
And also, it's a bit disappointed that we didn't get the initial agony tie between them in the beginning.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Like, yeah, because their Agni Kai was great in the beginning because it showed how much the two hated each other. Because didn't Zhao gain a little more respect for him after hearing about his backstory? Because Zhao was in the room, I think, when he heard about what happened to Zuko and how he got the scar, right? Because everybody thought it was a training accident, but no, it wasn't.
I don't remember if he was there or not. He might have been.
But he may have just like shrugged it off. But yeah, Zuko and Zhao, they were good. And I do like the fight. I do like how Iroh's the one to step in because it shows how strong Zuko and Iroh's bond really is. And I'm hoping if they show flashbacks of Iroh during Boxing Day, I mean, they're probably going to. They're probably going to show Lieutenant. Probably not because they did show the genocide of the air nomads, and they did show, of course, the death of Katara and Sokka's mother. But I think this should be like they didn't show Lieutenant's death because again it was too graphic, and also I think they wanted to say like they wanted us to think in our minds of why or we couldn't even see Iroh like that. Do you think like do you kind of get like what I'm saying? I think like in my opinion, and probably if other people agree too, I think it they didn't show that because they wanted to think of us our opinions of like what happened to him. I mean, we know he died, but we want to picture like what do you think Iroh did in that moment? Like, you know?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the same thing with like the firebenders killing the airbenders, where it's like the siege of Boxing Day and Ruten's death and Iroh's involvement in that is like a very important event in the series that we've never gotten to see. So I would really like to see the live action interpret what happened,
Yeah.
but also at the same time, it would be kind of I don't really want to see Iroh sad.
Yeah, I don't want to see Iroh like that because Iroh isn't like that. I mean, we did see him cry. Well, he didn't cry, but he was like shredding tears, like when he embraced Zuko for his apology. But I don't think to the fans and just the people in general watching the show, I don't think Iroh's character would be good like that if we saw him breaking down for his son's death. That wasn't what I was gonna say about like the thing. I just hope for the flashback we do get to see like a bit of the battle, like Iroh of course writing the letter and Iroh of course commanding his troops. But I don't want to see Lieutenant's death. I think that's something for the audience to think of what in their heads like what do you think happened. It's like a like I said earlier, it's to the audience like what do you think happened, not the show telling you. Because yes, like you said earlier, B, they do and like myself too, but they showed like a bit of the air nomads battle, but they didn't really show the whole thing, right? They didn't show the whole thing.
Yeah.
They showed
I was a
part of
bit
it.
disappointed too that he also didn't get to take down an entire room of firebenders like in the original show.
Yeah, and I like too because like it wasn't just air nomads that died that day. I mean, they all died, but in every single like battle at an air nomad, they like a lot of Fire Nation died too. Cause in the original, they say like the air nomads they had no army, they were not prepared, and they just did a surprise attack. Which true, they did show that in the new one with a surprise attack. But I do like how the air nomads and the monks they all decide to put up a good fight against the Fire Nation, which is cool.
Yeah, I did enjoy seeing the air nomads putting up a fight against the firebenders.
Yeah, but there are a lot of things I'm hoping we see in season two. I'm hoping there's a few things I want to see. One, I hope they show some flashbacks of Zuko's childhood, like they did in the original. I hope they show. What else do they want me to? They want to show Toph. I almost forgot about that. I'm hoping Toph's not voice actor is good. That's the one thing, because Toph is very good at comedic timing. Toph is just a
Yeah,
savage and
Toph
roast
was one of the
lord.
best characters in the original show,
Yeah, Toph's
so hopefully she's done right.
Yeah, I'm hoping because Toph is just a freaking roast lord, and she is just she roasts everybody. She comes up with great insults, kind what she does, and she just again like she makes fun of herself being blind. I don't think they'd show that. They wouldn't show like the there it is. That's what it's gonna look like when you see it, and her of course like waving her hand over herself because she's saying them I'm blind. Remember, I don't think they would get away with that stuff now because everybody of course being too sensitive. So if they do include some of her jokes from the original, which they probably will, I'm hoping it's good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Toph is one of the best characters, so
Yeah,
I'm
Toph.
hoping that she is done right.
Yeah, Toph, I'm hoping she's done right. And what else do I hope they show? Well, there are a lot of good moments from season two, but I'm hoping because season two, considered by many, is one of the best seasons of Avatar, or their number one.
Yeah, two and three are definitely the best,
Yeah,
but it's a little difficult to choose between them because they both have so many good moments.
yeah, and it's starting to get more serious. I hope they show the Zuko and Jet fight, like I mentioned earlier, and I hope it's longer because I think that would make sense because Zuko and Jet. I mean, Zuko was trained by the best swordsmaster in including Sokka, because Sokka was trained by the guy too, in the Fire Nation. But I hope we get a longer fight between Jet and Zuko. And hope, I mean, Zuko won't show any firebending, but I hope that it's good. And if I think this, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with me too, and if you don't agree with me at home, people watching this, that's fine too. But I hope that they don't show a recreation of Tales of Ba Sing Se. I think they should just leave that episode alone because it was just done so well in animation, and I think they should just leave that alone. What do you think?
I think it does make sense that like it was so good in the original show that you wouldn't want to see it kind of like ruined by it done messing it up.
Yeah.
But I think they might like instead of having it all in one episode, they might kind of like tell the similar stories, but like in different parts and different episodes,
Yeah.
kind of like spread out throughout the season instead of just all in one episode.
Yeah. I hope they don't. I mean, they're probably not going to. In there, I hope they don't show a recreation of Leaves from the Vine. This is something very interesting. Greg Baldwin, the second actor for Iroh, after Mako, of course, passed away, Greg Baldwin took over. He said he would never perform Leaves from the Vine ever to Avatar fans because it was a tribute to Mako because Mako did it before him, and it just made sense because the episode was later dedicated to Mako because Mako died after recording his lines for the second season. What do you think about that? Like
Yeah.
they shouldn't recreate that. That was just too emotional. A fan online actually said for Lieutenant's funeral when they played the theme and just in general they just let out the tears because they showed how dedicated they were to the original show. But I'm
Yeah,
hoping we
pretty
get to
much
see that.
anything relating to Leaves from the Vine will get an Avatar fan cry.
Yeah, but I think they should just leave that episode alone. I mean, yes, they should tell it, but also it does. I think Nickelodeon, if I'm wrong, Nickelodeon parted away from the project, and they did. Of course, it says an association with Nickelodeon, but I think halfway through the final editing process of the show, they left because it wasn't like their vision, and I don't know why. I think the episode came out well, and I'm hoping it's like the season came out well, and I'm hoping it's not going to be like M Night Shyamalan's where we just get one season and then nothing else. I hope we get the next two seasons. I'm hoping. Are you hoping too that?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you that.
Yeah, I hope they show the next two seasons because it would be pretty bad if they don't show anything. Because, like we said earlier, book 2 and book 3, that's what the seasons are called, people at home, they're really good. And they're better, I think, than book 1, in my opinion. Because book 1, even watching the original, book 1 was like the slow one. But then when it got to season 2 and then season 3, that's when things really took off. And
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
yeah, book 2, great. And book 3, way more like book 2 and book 3 are like at the same level kind of at being great, but I think book 3, since it's the finale, they just went all out for that one. And most fans also agree too, saying how book 2 and book 3 are better than book 1. But yes, I hope that we get to see good moments, and I'm hoping for the last, if they do the third season, I'm hoping we get an awesome fight like recreated of Ozai and Aang, and then of course Sokka, Suki, and then Toph taking down the ships. And I hope the Zuko, Katara, and Azula fight is done well too.
Yeah, I agree that I hope that it's done well.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we could see Azula's craziness. I don't know what they'd consider now because of the I don't think they consider it now because, again, people are sensitive about mental health. But that was one of the good things about Azula's character. It showed how because May and Ty Lee did not trust her anymore, she just went boom, insane. Do you think that was one of the scariest moments in the original?
I think there were scarier moments with Ko the Face Stealer, but
Yeah,
it was very interesting to see that side of the character when
yeah,
in the rest of like in the entire rest of the show she was more like composed and intelligent, while in the last few episodes she kind of like changed a lot
yeah,
because of that.
yeah. And I'm hoping we get to see further things in the series. Do you have anything else before we wrap up that you would like to say about the series or seeing it in the future with the seasons and the creators and the writers and the actors? What do you have to say before we wrap up?
I'm excited for season 2, and hopefully it comes soon.
Me too. Hoping it comes soon. I mean, the first season came out. But yes, like B said, I'm hoping it will come out soon. And I'm hoping, if this is true, I'm hoping Netflix and Nickelodeon can come back together and make this good. But yeah, thank you for watching. It's all geek to me. And thank you to B for coming on discussing this.
You're welcome.
Yes, the last episode we did very well. It had 54 views. I know that's not a big number, but it got a lot of good likes. And that was the first ever episode that I made that was long because it was an hour. So it depends on if people decide not to watch it because it was long. But I'm hoping you guys did watch the episode. If you haven't, you can go watch that first one that we did. And now, of course, you watch this one, but if you want, you can go watch that one. B will be back soon for big projects. We're planning to do another big episode at some point with Paramount, who just revealed his face, of course, in the Minecraft episode. We're hoping we get Tornado back together. We're hoping we're going to do another big Brain Trust episode, right, B?
That would be pretty cool.
Yes, we're hoping at some point that we can get back together and then we can do a big episode. We don't know what we're going to discuss yet, but there are big projects out there that are coming out soon. This one, I wanted to bring B back on because we promised to the fan base, we promised to the subscribers that we would come back and we would review this. I'm not going to do a review on Reviews You Can Use, my second channel that has 345 subs. Please go subscribe. But I'm not going to do that on my original because this is like my full-fledged review. So please give this video a like, share this with your friends and family. Thank you to B for coming on. If you want him back, let me know. Like we said, we're planning more big guest projects soon. I think this podcast works better with guests, and I will take sometimes the episodes solo, but you guys seem to love my guest episodes more than my solo ones, so I'll bring more guests on. B, if you would come when you come back, do you have any suggestions that you would like to discuss or on this podcast? Do you have any other shows or games or movies you would like to discuss?
It might be cool to talk about Batman.
Batman.
I am a pretty big Batman fan.
Yes. We will discuss the Batman games. We will discuss Batman in general. We'll discuss all that. And we can even discuss the Batman games. Do you have anything else you would like to talk about on this? I know you also wanted to talk about Spider-Man at some point.
Oh yeah, I think my brother wanted to talk about Spider-Man.
Yes. By the way, we were planning to get Dominic on this project, but he couldn't because he hasn't seen it yet, and he also didn't want to be spoiled. So we respected that. But if you want it back, please let us know, because the episode of the three of us discussing Dragon Ball has 61 views, and it's the sixth highest video on the channel. So please, if you want it back, let me know. And yeah, thank you guys for watching It's All Geek to Me. Thank you to B for coming on.
You're welcome.
And see you all next time. Bye-bye. Please subscribe.
It's all geek to me!